Good morning. I'd like to welcome all of you here to College Hill Presbyterian Church, where Lynn attended for many years in the late 80s and early 90s, back when Tim was just a very, very young child. Took a little tour of the upstairs where he used to go as a child, and the whole place is much smaller than he remembers, which is understandable. A few quick logistics. If you would turn to the middle of your bulletin, you'll see the hymn, my magnificent hymn called Creation of Peace. Look on the second page. When this was Xeroxed, there is one note and one word that will cut off. Okay? So if you look up at the top line, it says, Sisters and Brothers, anointed by God. There is one more note, and the word is then. Then create peace. If you don't remember that, just pause while you hear the note. You might remember. The second line, a peace where justice shall roll down like waters. So the word like in that extra note there. We tried to do it if we just left that out and left it for 2 notes, we would have lost everyone. So just wanted to let you know about that. College Hill is basically acting as host for this service. This remarkable service has been put together by the family, and so it's an honor to welcome you here. Let us begin by hearing these words as a call to worship. Words from Jesus from the Gospel of Matthew. Come to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Here are also these words from the Apostle Paul in Romans. If we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. And from Psalm 124, our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. Please rise in body and or spirit for the singing of our hymn. compassion. You see us as we are, and you know our inmost thoughts and feelings. Remind us that all life comes from you, and to you all life returns. We acknowledge it is in your love and grace that sustain us. Help us at this time to experience your comforting presence. In your mercy, forgive us, heal us, and make us whole. Set us free from sin, and restore us to the joy of your salvation now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen.
Hear these words of assurance of God's forgiveness. We are created by God, beloved by God, accepted by God, and forgiven by God. Let us also then forgive one another. And may the God of unlimited grace and love strengthen us in all goodness. Amen. Reading our New Testament lesson, 3 days. Wow. Hope I can get through this.
1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith, so as to remove mountains but do not love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful, or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. Hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, that we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to the childish way. For now we see in the mirror dimly. But then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. Now faith, hope, and love abide. These three. The greatest of these is love.
I think a good way to start this is going to be crying a little bit. Good morning. It's great to have everyone here to honor Lynn and remember her in all our varied ways. Your presence is a gift to us and to Lynn, who so often did things that were behind the scenes and unrecognized. That's true for a lot of people. But it's good to remember her and what she contributed to our individual and broader growth. 2 weeks ago, a few of us, mainly, were in North Carolina to celebrate Lynn's life, where she lived for the last 22 years. The gathering in North Carolina was powerful, with many who spoke of her various involvements as a teacher and also in service organizations and civic engagement efforts, such as regular pop-up Black Lives Matter presence in different spots in the community, doing voter registration at libraries and involvement with NAACP and the food pantry in their area, SAFE as the name is called SAFE. Lynn cultivated friendships also. We heard about a lot of friendships she cultivated along the way, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. But she was always there and willing to do a helping hand. So that's a little nutshell of the North Carolina service. I'm here to share with you, as I did there, something of the Lynn that I knew growing up. As some of you know, Lynn is the firstborn child in our family, with Lee, Mary, and Joe following in the very few next years. I came along in 1960, 8 years after Joe. I was surprised. Maybe I felt good about that. Actually, I don't know that I ever felt bad about that. Someone say a mistake, but that was not true. I was surprised. I recall feeling joyful anytime I saw Lynn, or Minnie, as they called her back then. She was 12 when I was born, and I had a sense that she was a true helper to my parents as I grew as a father. I have no idea, but it seems like that. She was always glad to see me, and I was delighted to see her when she would come home from school, as all the kids did, but I feel like Lynn was most to me. I don't know. Maybe I was not time to see her. Anyway, it was an interesting time being the youngest one and not yet in school. I don't have any particular memories exactly of those times until I was about 6 when Lynn went away to college at Phillips University in Enid. And that was a pretty big deal for me, her leaving home. And I just remember I imagine I was like, now I know dogs and how they greet you when you come home. I feel like I was that happy. I remember visiting her after we were there. We went out for tater tots. I probably, of course, you went out for tater tots 100 times probably. But the one time I was there, it was quite magnificent. I got to spend the night, I think, in her dorm room, and that was really fun for me. After college, Lynn lived at home for a while, and then an apartment in Tulsa, different apartments actually. And it was during these years that I had the most clear memories. It was my late elementary and junior high school years then, and I began to know all of my older siblings in new ways. When Lynn lived at home for a while, I remember that her room had posters in it, big posters in the 70s, you know. And, oh yeah, and everybody was into music and sound systems and big speakers. There were lots of music to enjoy. The real specific thing was she had a cranberry scented candle that she lit in her room, and it always smelled so good in there. One of the posters for a while that I remember said, "Behold the turtle, he makes progress only when he sticks his neck out." And the other one that I remember is the Desiderata by Max Herman. It was a big poster with lots of little words crammed into things like, what's the structure here? There is only one. But I had to really focus my attention to read all those words, and they all seemed really important. And so I asked to read that today. The Desiderata reminds me of how Lynn lived her life and how she impacted me. It contains philosophical desires, encouragement, words of wisdom. I'm going to read that now, and I want you to feel free to close your eyes, relax, whatever you need to as I read it. The Desiderata. Go classically amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not claim affection. Neither be cynical about love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe. No less than trees to stars. So go to the market together. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive it to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. I am grateful for Lynn's life-changing presence in my world and in the world of all who knew and loved her. She continued to be a supporter and friend throughout her life. It was an honor and a gift to be able to give back to her and to support Reed and Tim in her last months. I sent her a card a couple of years ago that said, "All I ever wanted was to be loved just the way I am." And I thanked her for doing just that. I know that her love will nurture me forever.
My name is Ashley Sherrian, and I'm his cousin. And she and I were only a couple months apart in age, and so she was actually my first playmate outside my sisters. Our parents went to the same church, and they would often walk us girls over to Semones because it didn't have enough to do already, I'm sure. And so I just have wonderful memories of all of the times over this Semones house. We had a giant house with laundry chute. And we were climbing trees out in their giant yard and just playing. And they were just really good times. And then, of course, we had a big family dinner. And so those are some of my fondest memories of growing up, is that time. Occasionally, our grandparents would have a peasant camp in England, their farm. And so we keep up with each other that way. And then our Aunt Marita would have a peasant's camp for a bunch of us in Indianapolis and have us up there, which was always interesting and fun. And so through the years, Lynn and I got together that way because we went to different schools. And so later in life, when we were all over the country living, we always remembered each other's birthdays with cards, and we eventually had Facebook to keep up with each other. And she was an absolute treasure in my life from day one. When Ray called to ask me to say a few words about growing up as Lynn, I was happy to do that. And he said it would be good to hear from someone who grew up with her. At first I was thinking in terms of how we did things as kids, and then at family functions. But what struck me the most was that the important thing about all of these experiences, and in all of these years, was the fact that Lynn maintained the same kind, generous, and gentle spirit that she had as a child throughout her whole life. That was the real treasure about Lynn. She never wavered. She was smart and well-read, and she was always thinking about how she could be of service in helping other people. This is who she was. She was not capable of being superficial. She was a truth teller through and through, and not one to sugarcoat anything. To know Lynn was to know that. Losing Lynn was a blow to me. I will miss her steadfast loyalty and her honesty and her gentle nature and her friendship.
These are some of my remembrances of a lifelong friendship with Lynn, a woman of uncommon kindness and grace. She was present during some of my darkest days and joyful days as well. We grew up together in Indianapolis Christian Church, a remarkable place for a Christian formation. My earliest memories were of the junior high youth group, Cairo. Lynn was tall and elegant, without airs, smart and witty without pretense, and a genuine friend as well. She seemed to glide through adolescence, unaffected by the issues that bedeviled most of us. Her manner was always bright and cheerful. Each summer we attended Camp Christian. In 1963, she was the first to comfort me when I smashed my head on the pool wall. She sacrificed her new cover of the staunch belief. And she was always attending to the camp counselors, unlike most of us. After high school, really happy boys would gather in the Semones side yard for the annual Thanksgiving turkey bowl. She would cheer us on, even those of us so unlikely to act happily. The music of Monterey and Great Pond was frequently heard in the Bishop homestead. In 1970, when after college, she roomed with a fellow classmate in a big country apartment on South Munich Avenue. She welcomed me to dinner and conversation. I had just graduated and was headed to the Navy and apprehensive about getting on. In 1976, she was the first of my childhood friends to welcome my wife to Tulsa when she arrived from graduate school. They became lunchmates and Candace treasured her friendship for many years thereafter. She admired Lynn's grace and understanding. Lynn welcomed the arrival of our two sons as we did with the blessing of him. In 1998, my wife was gravely injured in Roman collapse. I arrived home after a particularly early day at the hospital. Lynn was waiting. She offered sympathy, prayer, and assured me that God would comfort us in the future. She was appreciated. During the following 20 years, when many of our friends had fallen away, she would always visit me in Tulsa. She'd bring a bunch of flowers and Candace's favorite pastime, chocolate. Candace would remark that Lynn was always so gracious and caring. In 2019, after my wife's passing, she called to offer condolences and assurance that God would help me through it. He did. Last October, Lynn, Reed, and I and Tim had lunch. Actually, it was delivered. It was obvious that she was ill, but she was nevertheless as bright and cheerful as when I first met her over 65 years ago. Hers was a life of service to others. I'm certain that she and Candace never knew their friendship. I'm sure they're having lunch together.
I'm happy to hear that, Celine. And my story, the next speaker denies knowing this. And you'll understand that she's short. Okay, I first met Lynn 55 years ago at Tulsa University. First day, we were moving into the dormitory. As you know, Lynn was tall. I was tall also. We looked around and noticed that most of the people on our floor were very tall. Later we found out that the assistant dean of students decided that all the tall people should house together on the same floor. Now, as a freshman, you try to stay, below the line so nobody bothers you or notices you. That, putting us on the same floor immediately tagged us as the Amazon suite. So we suffered the first year of being the Amazons, and all of the focus was on us. Anyway, that began 55 years ago, a friendship with Lynn. Lynn was smart, inquisitive, multi-talented, kind, very considerate, and opinionated. Now, I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. When Lynn would have something that bothered her, I don't know if you remember, but she would come up and she would be talking to herself and going back and forth. And then finally she would say, in my opinion, this is, do you remember Mary? That was Lynn. We loved her. And I appreciated Lynn because she pulled me through Spanish. She was great. Our activities paralleled through college. We were friends, class officers, senate officers, junior senior queen, who's who, and it seemed like all through our lives, up until this time, our lives have paralleled. And it's kind of like a weaving. Our lives weave together. We traveled, married her adopted parents, we taught. Lynn married somebody that we knew very well. It was a wonderful time with Lynn, and she was a person of grace, and I love her dearly. It's been such an honor to be Lynn's Amazon sister.
I'm Carol Abraham Hughes. 70 years ago, the Harold and Martha Abraham family moved to Tulsa, and we got to live right across the street from the Harold Freeman family, Semones family. They had 4 kids, we had 4 kids. They went to my father's church, and my mother and Bernita became fast friends over coffee and sharing recipes. I had many peanut butter sandwiches over this. And when her father would come to let me in the front door and say, "Hello, Carol, I'm going." And come in. We went to Barnard, started kindergarten together, and then my daddy took us to Dallas after 8 years of being there. I have really wonderful memories of playing at the Semones house and eating many of the Bernita's sandwiches. We, let's see here, we moved back to Tulsa the year that I graduated from Mississippi, Kansas in '66, and I found out that Lynn was going to go to Phillips. And I was already signed up to go to Phillips. And I didn't have a roommate, and she didn't either. So I got to be Lynn's roommate. Thank goodness, because I thought I was going to be a nurse. When I was college, I always did college chemistry, got me my lunch, and then helped me all the way through it. We kept in touch to a degree, but not like we should have the next over many years. And all of a sudden, Lynn was telling me that she was going to miss her boy. Ken came along, and not a little while later, Ruth came along. And I was blessed to get to go to their wedding, and I just remember how happy everybody seemed to be there. Of course, life went on, and Lynn kept in touch with her, and I knew Bernita's health was failing, and I would visit Bernita frequently at Consistent Village. Lynn would always let me know when she was in town, and we would always be able to have breakfast for lunch. About 4 years ago, at one of our lunches, she asked me about my bucket list. I told her I had always wanted to go zip lining. Well, she returned to North Carolina, and in about 3 weeks, I received a packet full of advertisements of places to go zip lining in North Carolina. So I would say, "Oh, I guess we will." So I got to go to North Carolina, never been there before, and see her lovely home in the woods, stay with her wonderful family. And then she and I took about a 3-day road trip. And the first night we stayed at an Airbnb. And then we went to Biltmore. And we stayed the next 2 nights To me, Lynn was so kind, patient, and loving. I wish I would have kept in better contact with her, but I do have many good memories. I had breakfast with Bree and Tim the other day, and I told them some of my best memories were just that. Lynn was just so sweet and cute. I mean, I know that she speak out about things that she had different opinions of that I had, so I get much. They told me a different story. Anyway, I wanted to go back to North Carolina one more time and see if we could do it like Harper Rafting. But that's okay, I'll put it back down also. To me, Lynn was a very special lady with a big heart, and I feel truly blessed with being one of her friends. Thank you.
I'm Suzanne Davis, and Lynn was a very special, loving, kind, gentle, sharp lady. She was always smiling and so open to listening and being present to others. She never mentioned anyone. She was fun to be with, especially since we were about the same height, as I realized we know with some of your family. We had lots of activities with the secret Sunday school class in Christ United Methodist Church. And the activities have continued on. In fact, we had a gathering just a few weeks ago, and remember Lynn as we played bridge together. Though Lynn, Reed, and Jim all moved, and I didn't see them very much, I thought of them often, knowing that they were doing well in North Carolina, which I think they are. I had a joy and privilege of having lunch with them at Canary's about 3 or 4 weeks before Lynn died. I knew when we had the time together that things were different, but she was still there and able to communicate, and we had a good time together. And very, very, very special time recently. Thinking back, I remember the reception that Rita and Lynn had after their wedding at their home. They sprinkled of rice all around in all the rooms of their home with the idea that it was holy and it was good luck, the house would be safe, and that they would be happy and have a very happy married life, which I thought was kind of neat. I have always cherished the very special gift that Tim has been to her and Reed. I know that Tim is the absolutely precious joy of her life, and what an incredible mother she was. She cherished him, and it's always been so special to see their relationship with love. What a gift he was to her, and what a special man he is today in so many ways. Another story is that a friend of hers, and many of us, is very wise. They were reminiscing the other day, we talked about Lynn, and they looked back and remembered when Barry, Nancy's husband, was considered the bully of the family. Tim, you might remember that. Nancy brought up the two of them, Tim and Barry, the same birthday. And a couple times they were able to celebrate that time together. So that was very special to a friend-in-law of ours. You know, there were many people in our lives that have a sense of caring and loving. Lynn had strong values and opinions that she lived by, but never pushed them on others. She was always smiling and so gracious. She set the precedent of being a kind person and a loving teacher in all the things that she did, and truly made the world and the people around her better. Her kindness and her love for her students, her thoughtfulness in so many ways was truly a gift to all of us. Indeed, our love goes out to Tim and all of her family for this incredible loss of all of us. We will miss her, but know that she is in God's loving care and for that we give thanks.
Wow. I'm going to call a little bit of audible here. I have some words written by Andy McKenzie, a fellow teacher that won't talk. And after this, I think I'd like to say a few words as well. Thoughts on Lynn from Andy McKenzie. I was so sorry to learn the news about Lynn, and I regret not being here with you today to celebrate her incredible life. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share these highlights. When I met Lynn, when she came to Tulsa's Emerson Elementary School as a first-year teacher, Emerson was one of the first elementary magnet schools in the district, and it was an honor to be chosen to teach in this exceptional and innovative environment. She joined our team of teachers in the primary grade, serving approximately 250 students. As a team, we shared the instructional space, instructional materials, and the students in our classroom. Lynn and I worked side by side with a team of teachers to deliver reading, math, science, social studies, music, art, and physical education content and curriculum. This team of teachers worked together to deliver instruction to these students across 3 grade levels. As a first-year teacher, it was a demanding and exciting place to work. I recall the team meetings we held each week. This lesson preparation included the teaching secrets of 11 other master teachers, as well as the sharing of challenges, success, and next steps. It was a powerful environment for all of us. It was so much fun to be a part of this exceptional team of teachers, and Lynn was a valued and contributing member of this team. She stepped into the work at Emerson as a master teacher. She was so dedicated to the students and always took her assignment very seriously. She was totally focused on the success of her students and their ability to enjoy the learning. It was as much about how to learn as it was about what they learned. Her influence reached across the students, parents, and fellow teachers. Think of the amazing role Lynn assumed as a first-year teacher. Her caring, purposeful approach to teaching and learning became a lifeline for those lucky enough to be connected to her. Our daily routines were demanding, but always fun and rewarding. Lynn especially loved reading time. Through her lessons, or when she read aloud, she shared her love of reading with everyone. It was a special time, a sacred time in her eyes. I also recall the crazy times we experienced working so closely in our pod. It was a shared space, and so we heard every word the other person said, every day, over a period of several years. I remember times when there were so many different things happening with several teachers and so many children at the same time in our open classroom that it could be overwhelming. I would look across the pod and catch Lynn's eyes. The realization from the both of us, oh my, I would be thinking of a word not appropriate for any classroom. We would both laugh and quickly move on. Our after-school reflections usually started with, "You are not going to believe what happened today." Sharing the many stories about our day with children was a constant source of humor and admiration for children and their creative nature. One morning, one of our first grade students, named Kirby, started his show and tell time by holding his hand out all night. He proudly explained, "My ear tube fell out." He was displaying the tube that came out of his ear over the week. Because the tube was so small, no one could see it. All 60 students seated in front of him were straining to see this strange ear tube. You know, the one that the doctor placed in your eardrum to clear the fluid and prevent chronic ear infections. This small piece of rubber allows the fluid to drain out from behind the membrane. The students all responded with, "Where? What is it? I can't see it." Almost in unison, the group started to move forward or stand up to see what the young man was displaying. I quickly asked everyone to sit down and prompted Kirby. "Kirby, why did you have this tube in your ear?" Kirby quickly replied, "Because I couldn't hear a damn thing." This is definitely one of our favorite teaching stories. Our principal told us when she needed a little break from her work, she would head down to the primary wing for a laugh, a hug, and a smile. Anytime, any day. Emerson was a happy place. Lynn made it a happy place. I moved from Emerson after 9 years and made my way to Mayo Demonstration School of Science and Technology, another Tulsa Public Schools magnet school. In 1993, Lynn became a part of this school as well, this time as Timothy's mom. As a Mayo mom, Lynn volunteered her time and talent with our Mayo community from the first day of school. Tim became a loved and valued member of his Mayo family, and Lynn was the extra special bonus. She brought the same dedication, love, and passion for children, teaching, and learning to everyone involved. Lynn was forever and always a teacher, but her real joy in life was being Timothy's mom and first teacher. I was saddened by the reason for the call I received from you and Tim, but it was wonderful to reconnect and learn about the years since we were last together. Tim, I love knowing about your interest in music. How fun it is to learn that you remember our time at Mayo, and especially the songs we sing together. I want you to know, I remember your mom singing those same songs with all of us at Emerson all those ages ago. Today is the day to celebrate Lynn. It has been a gift to me to revisit memories of my time with her. I hope it can be a small gift to all of you. My heart goes out to each of you as we celebrate a very special friend, an amazing teacher, mother, and wife. May you begin.
I'd like to probably break it down every day. I was not going to speak, and then I was asked to one more. Many of you know that we had a previous celebration, and I guess I will care of this. But I wanted a couple of things to bring up. Number one, Lynn had a razor sharp never religious, but often mischievous, and I've told this story many times, so maybe it's repeated. I once teased her that before I married her, she was destined to be an old maid school mark from Oklahoma. And she said, "You're full of it." I'm not sure what it was in her mind, but she was too gracious. But I think she said half a word. In the last year, Lynn was the district diagnosed with a grade 2 brain tumor that soon turned into a grade 4. She is a warrior. She knew it would be fatal. She took on the challenge of living the fullness of her life and doing things that she wanted to do and not using the word tumor to stop her from living her life. We traveled from Texas to Oklahoma, all around North Carolina. She loved the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And she enjoyed all these things even after diagnosis. She told the doctors that she wanted to live a quality life, not a quantity. Tim and I were proud to stand beside her as best we could and made her comfortable, and support her in her travels and wish to have a quality life. On December the 8th, one year after her 71st birthday, she left us. She left us in the presence of many family who were on a Zoom call, witnessing her day. Kim was softly singing a shared childhood song. On one side, Eric, who died, brought us. Oh, Eric, give your permission to leave us. What I get to is that part of this. between earth and vegetation. Right, let's see the other side. I watched her leave. Stay in whole. And that will stay with me forever.
Before I do the celebration of my mom's life, we're going to open the floor for anybody else who would like to share a few short words about their memories and their special connection with my mom. We have a wireless mic, so if you could speak into the microphone and let us know. Raise your hand or stand if possible. And my one request is that we allow a dear, dear friend of ours, Judy Conwell, to start.
I met around in the mid-80s. Phoenix. Okay. With Phoenix Sunday School at Christ Methodist Church. We began to spend social time together, enjoying folk music, gatherings, dancing, Sierra Club activities, spelunking. We just did it all. And she was really so much fun. When Lynn adopted her wonderful son Tim, as a single parent, my husband and I, John became proud godfather, godparents. And this followed with her marriage to Reed, and our outings easily transitioned to family events, including camping and TV basketball games. I'm going to insert something here because it is so unlike when we were at a basketball game and the people behind us would be very obnoxious. And Lynn turned around and she kind of, we both were talking about they should have known to be a little bit nicer, a little bit quieter, but they weren't. And Tim, at that point, was very young and very scared of loud noises. And we were just fed up. And I turned around and Lynn did the most unexpected thing I've ever seen her do. She took her glass of pop and threw it behind her. And soaked those people. And I mean, it's just, it's kind of like, don't mess with us. They did quiet down. Anyway, anybody that knows Lynn will know that was very unusual. There's just, we had such a good time with Lynn going around the country, and Tim and his, what are they called? Awful waffles? Yeah. And that was what Rudy did, the awful waffles. There's just a long list of things that I loved about them. She was honest, caring, her persistent pursuit that supported her values. Her values were so high. And she was involved in civil rights. She had a quiet intelligence about her. She didn't ever, run over you or anything like that. It was just quiet intelligence. A lot of sense. Lynn taught classes for years, and as y'all were talking, it was multinational children who couldn't speak English to the very poor here in Tulsa. She was always in service to others, which served as a model for her elementary students. And I do know that when she was getting really, I'm sorry, when she agreed to attend to North Carolina, we stayed in touch with them. We would go down there. They would, come up here a lot. And I probably talked to them every couple of weeks and kept up with her because she was so special about so many things. We would meet occasionally, go camping and hiking. And that's our frequent telephone calls. I'm a telephone call person, and I was on there an awful lot with Lynn. I miss her. I miss Lynn. And Lynn just absolutely made this world a different and better place.
Thank you, Judy.
My name is Laura Shepherd, and I was a teacher with Lynn at Emerson, and I shared Lynn's passing on our Emerson Generation Facebook page. I'd like to share a couple of the comments that were shared back to me. One former student said, "Miss Semones was an amazing teacher. I met her at Emerson in the 80s. I remember her very fondly. I remember thinking, she is so soothing. She's so beautiful. I'm so sad to hear of her passing." Another former student wrote, "I was one of the fortunate kids to have attended Emerson in the 1980s, all the way from kindergarten to 5th grade graduation, and my time at Emerson was full of amazing memories, friends, and teachers. Miss Semones was one of my very favorite teachers at Emerson, and I feel very privileged to have been her student. I can still picture sitting in her classroom with her calming, nurturing presence. As a little kid, of course, I had no idea about her pursuing adoption as a single mother. Knowing this now makes me smile even bigger because I myself am an adopted mother of 8. What a great teacher and all-around lady." I also shared her passing with some teachers, and some of the former teachers shared some of these comments. "I loved working with Mrs. Davis. She had a great heart and love for all kids. Lynn was my role model for teaching with patience and kindness." Another teacher said, "I'm sure everyone will tell you about how calm and patient Lynn was, but she also had a wonderful sense of humor and a great laugh." Another one said, "Lynn was a creative teacher and shared her ideas, but she also had a tactful way of reining us in when our ideas would be too out there." And to me, Lynn was a mentor, a colleague, a friend, and my daughter Hannah's second grade teacher. In that role, she helped me navigate the challenges of having a teacher's kid in an open classroom, and it kept me from being a help. Our family credits Lynn with discovering that Hannah needed glasses when our well-behaved, conscientious little girl started struggling in school and acting out by sitting in the back because she knew she couldn't see, didn't want to tell anyone. Lynn suggested we take her to the eye doctor. Our blind little girl got glasses that day. We moved out of town after Hannah's second grade, and Lynn's confidence that Hannah would excel in her new school was a comfort to all of us. When I asked Hannah to share some memories from her time in Miss Davis's class, she remembered how much she loved when Lynn would read chapter books aloud after lunch. She made books come to life and encouraged her students to read all genres of literature. She also credits Lynn with her fascination with the Titanic. Before the Titanic was a cool thing to know about. She steered Hannah to try a nonfiction book at the school book fair, and then when the movie Titanic came out, she could share all of the facts with her friends. She was quite impressed with herself. Lastly, she remembered how much she loved the daily notes that Lynn would write in their journals. Every day they would write something, and Lynn would write that. So when it was journal time, she would be very fascinated to see what Lynn was. Davis had written, and of course we still have that journal now. This is kind of the Emerson Road, we used to sing our condolences.
Thank you so much.
Hello, folks. It has been very moving to hear your contributions, and I am blown away with how Lynn has affected all of our lives. I was one of her very early babysitters, and which makes me very old. And I am happy to tell you I recall almost nothing about babysitting with 4 little children. Partly because I'm very old, and partly because, unlike other people on the race, have they weren't a problem. But my only problem was with their father, who insisted that even if I fed, bathed, and put 4 little children to bed, I was entitled to only 25 cents an hour. When I returned to Tulsa to go to law school in '76, was when I was back in the Tulsa community after following my husband from pillar to post in the Marine Corps. And after I was a lawyer, I had the great pleasure of dealing with Lynn professionally, as she was the executor of my Aunt Maria's will, and I represented the estate. And later, I had the great privilege of representing her when she adopted her baby boy. And Lynn has always been so kind and so wonderful with just the right word in the right place. And so many of her comments to that effect cannot be repeated today, not because they were profane, but because they reveal deep secrets about other people I love that I should not reveal right now. Anyhow, Lynn was a treasure to us all, and it is heartwarming to see that so many people enjoy that too. Thank you.
I don't have any long stories or anything. By the way, that's Lynn's cousin, so distant cousin. My name is Sarah. My mother was Susan Stout, Susan Smoot Stout, so related to the Semones, gave us a name. And Lynn moved away when I was in high school. So I don't have a lot of really personal memories, but I will never forget that she was always, people keep using the word, but she was gentle. She was always very quiet and very calm. And now that I am a first grade teacher, I wish that I had Lynn's personality. I'm sometimes a little less patient than I should be, and I can see how she was an absolute perfect fit to be a teacher in elementary school. And one thing just about her selflessness is, I guess found out kind of late that she was battling cancer, and I am also battling cancer. And last summer, I received a compassion blanket from Lynn, and it is soft and fuzzy and warm, and it has words of hope and encouragement on it, and it's light pink for breast cancer. And she sent that to me with me having absolutely zero knowledge that she was also going through cancer treatment. And I was devastated to find out that I didn't reciprocate, but just how generous she was that she thought of me through her own struggle and never said a word to me that she was going through the same thing. So it's tragic that she did not survive that battle, but she fought for quite a while, and she chose to enjoy the time that she had left, and I don't think that she had any regrets. And I'm sure her whole family is happy to have been able to see her and spend time with her and say goodbye to her. And I'm sure that she's at peace and not in pain, and I hope that I have a different outcome, but if not, I hope that I'm as graceful as she is. And I really appreciate everything she contributed to our family. She was always a cheerleader for underdogs and fighting for everyone's rights and always put other people before herself. She was really incredible, and I'm sorry that I didn't get to grow up closer to her, but I don't have a single bad memory of her, so.
Thank you to everyone for sharing so far. I think that probably
probably a lot of people in this room already, but I never did not get a birthday card from them ever. Not one single year. She never missed sending a birthday card. That, if he done nothing else in her life, that would already be a remarkable thing. Because, who thinks of who is so consistently thoughtful about other people and makes so much effort to remember things. When I was 4, we moved around the block from Bernita to Ed and Grandma and Grandpa, and so I saw Grandma all the time growing up, and of course Mom, and Lynn was around a lot too, and they were just foundational people, and so consistent in their kindness and thoughtfulness and gentleness, and that's always been. So that became a little nice.
Lending I All right. So, Lynn is my patient, and she disciplined about being kind and doing the right thing, even if it meant using honey instead of sugar or wheat flour instead of white in a recipe. That's healthier, and that's what we're going to do. And I think I will just echo what Brian said about it as an adult, really appreciating the discipline and what it takes to be there to send a good card and show up in ways that are really meaningful for your family and friends, whether it's a small or a big action. She would absolutely be there. And I appreciate that about her. Just quiet, solid loyalty and willingness to do that I mentioned my best, and I will try to do as well.
I just thought of something with Lynn, when she was very ill, of course, and she was being treated by the Duke Medical Center. Her oncologist, the fellow who was born, I guess, in Egypt, and came over as a child and went to medical school and all that. We were dating for a while, and she mentioned to him that we were coming to Tulsa to commemorate the 100th year anniversary of the massacre. And he looked blankly at her. She said, "You've never heard of that?" He said, "No." She said, "Well, have you ever heard of a fellow by the name of John Hope Franklin?" And if you know John Hope Franklin, he was a professor emeritus out of Duke who wrote his seminal works on the black communities. And he just kind of said, "No, I don't know that." Well, then, by golly, she started telling him about it. And she had me print out a number of. Oh, I also mentioned that she said, "Well, how could you not know John Hope Franklin passed his building every day coming to work? They named the building after him, too." So he was sort of, who is this man? So, always a teacher. She had me copy pages, the very front page on her record books. We have a number of them. And she gave it to him. Said, "Now you need to read these to understand what's going on." And he was sort of, "Oh, okay, I'll do that. And then And it was probably a couple of sessions later. He said, he was giving me some bad news. And he said, this hurts me because I like you. You tell me things. So she was out there teaching me our politics, by God.
Thank you so much, everybody, who has shared. I'm going to go ahead and start my words here. Once again, thank you everybody for being here, taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us in the celebration of my mom. When Mom was realizing the mortality of the situation, she actually told Dad and I want to be in service. And there's so many people here today. And then our service that we did 2 weeks ago in Sackville, we had over 100 people show up, so sorry, Mom. Before I dive into my packet here, I just wanted to share with you some of the organizations that my mom was a part of. As you've heard here, she was a teacher. She was part of the Southern Allen Family Empowerment, otherwise known as SAFE, it was a food pantry. She was part of the Quad County Book Club, the Crochet and Complain Group. Touch 22 is a Sunday morning coffee group that we get together, and my dad would solve those problems. My mom also protested for Black Lives Matter. So many times, I put me to shame, actually. She was part of the NAACP as well, and as you heard from some of our friends here, part of the Seekers here in Tulsa. And I'm sure that there's many more things that I just wasn't even aware about. Wow. I honestly didn't know how to start this. I mean, how, me being 33 years old, can I squeeze in 33 years of love and life into just a few minutes? Thank you for allowing me to do so. My mom was truly one of a kind. She adopted me as a single mother, working as a full-time teacher. A single white woman adopted a black child. Knowing that Mom lived through the 1950s and 1960s when racism was the public norm, and some white people didn't even want black people in the same swimming pool as them or drink from the same water fountain, she still chose to adopt me. Just think about that for a second. Mom is what Dr. Martin Luther King envisioned during his I Have a Dream speech. I never realized how much commitment, desire, and determination that it takes to be a parent, let alone a single parent, until recently, living through vicariously some of my friends. Not only was my mom single, but there's a 2-generation age difference between us and different cultures as well. I can't speak on my mom's younger days, so thank you to everybody again who's done so. But I can speak about what I experienced. My mom believed yes to peace, and no to violence. And that hate is not a family value. Never once did I hear hateful words come from my mom's mouth, even when she was angry. My mom never even spanked me as a kid, and I'm pretty sure that I deserved it a couple times. But maybe she was onto something, because I absolutely hated going to timeout. But It was in timeout, the time to choose Mom right now. And so, thank you, Mom. As you've heard, my mom was a teacher, not just in the classroom, but in our home as well. One of my favorite things as a child was reading Mom's field guides for the Audubon Society that covered birds, snakes, animals, insects, and so many more things. I still remember an interactive history book she bought for me that would quiz you on the chapters after reading them by having a built-in keypad with codes that corresponded to the chapter that you just read. Try saying that 5 times fast. But that's how I learned about the Titanic, the Lusitania, World War II, and so many other major historical events at a young age. Thank you, Mom. I remember being late for school one day. I probably was late, it definitely was Mom. I was late for school one day, and Mom drove me to school, and she saw another young man walking towards her. And she slowed down the car to stop and give him a ride. But me being the new kid in this scenario said, "No, Mom, no, just go, just take me to school." Which she did. I found out later that she went back, picked him up, and drove him the rest of the way to school. It's just the type of person my mom was. Mom made sure that I had an abundance of Black and African history around me. From Gallimonto toys to celebrating Kwanzaa, telling me about Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X way before my schools even got around to introducing them in our studies. Mom even got stories and myths from Africa to read to me, like the Nazi the Spider, and so many more. One of the most extraordinary experiences I've ever had was seeing the King Tut exhibit at the Chicago Natural History Museum, where I saw King Tut's burial mass. And wow. On another trip, I saw a T-Rex. Whew. As I've grown older, I've come to realize that I've had more Black culture and African culture in my home than a lot of other Black people that I've actually met. My mom did that. She made that happen. She wanted me to know that Black history is more than what the United States tells you about slavery. I always thought my mom was the smartest person I knew. No disrespect. But I mean, anytime I got hurt, she used her medical knowledge that she gained from being Uncle Doc's secretary to diagnose me. Mom had a special way of making me feel better and calming me down when I was thinking too much, or recognizing when I was actually sick, as I think a few times. Mom was also one of the healthiest people that I've ever known. She loved her spinach salads, spinach nachos, spinach with fish, and Dr. Pepper, and swimming. Mom made it through life never once having smoked a cigarette, never once having been drunk, or anything else. And she grew up in the 60s. How incredible was that? When I was a child, I used to cry at night, every night for my mom. I found out later, as I was more grown, that some adopted children are traumatized and develop separation anxiety, and that I was not alone in that experience. But Mom would always come and lay next to me, sing me to sleep, tell me a story, read one more chapter from our book, or just let me listen to her heartbeat until I fell asleep. Mom cared, not just about me, but about the planet. She always picked up trash when we went out places. I used to get annoyed, honestly, especially when we were going to a movie or a restaurant and Mom would walk way out of our path, maybe 10 steps or so, just to pick up a piece of trash, or 2, or 3, or 4. I think Dad and I eventually had to convince Mom to only pick up one piece of trash at some point because Mom could literally pick up trash and keep his planet clean all day. I thought that it would make us late to the movies. It never did. Some of my friends growing up thought it was weird, but now I know Mom was doing what she felt was her part to keep the earth, our shared home, clean. And that if we all did that, this world would be a lot cleaner. I can remember as a kid on one Saturday morning where Mom and Dad and I went to pick up the trash on the hill next to our house in Sand Springs. Of course, I would really have preferred to watch the X-Men and Spider-Man, but Mom made picking up the trash fun. She even made a trash picker-upper so that we didn't have to bend over nearly as much. And as amazing as Spider-Man is, my mom was the real hero. My mom loved to garden. Every home we lived in had some type of garden. And it seemed to me that Mom loved nothing more than to be outside in the dirt, planting and taking care of that garden. I didn't understand it. I mean, why would you want to get hot and sweaty and dirty when you can stay inside and play video games in the air conditioning and watch television? I have to laugh a little bit because we used to have a rule about TV time at the house growing up. No more than 2 hours a day. And believe you me, Mom kept track of those 2 hours diligently. One summer in high school, I remember making a deal with Mom that for every minute I spent playing video games, I had to go outside and make a basket for each minute. I racked up thousands of baskets worth of debt, and I'm not quite sure that Mom ever really collected. But I also remember the fun that I had that summer with my neighbor, Honor Frog, and the other kids in my neighborhood, playing basketball, cricket, freeze tag, and any other game you can imagine a group of kids in a cul-de-sac could come on. Mom always believed in me. When I wanted to skateboard, her only request was that I wear a helmet and pads. Eventually, I got her to agree to just a helmet, and then again, eventually nothing when she wasn't looking. But I know now that she really just wanted me to be safe. I actually got grounded from skateboarding in 6th grade because I didn't wear my helmet or pads. But what did you know? The day after my parents confiscated my skateboard, Mom took me to the skate park and bought me a brand new Tony Hawk skateboard. I rode that thing until it was impossible to ride anymore, and eventually snapped in half. She even took me to Camp Lake Owen one summer, which is part of the infamous Camp Woodward circuit, a dream for extreme sports enthusiasts. On one rainy day, Mom and Dad took me and 2 of my friends, TJ, Miami, and Tyler Miskell, to a skate park in Raleigh because it was indoor and simply because we asked. When I played basketball, I had the opportunity to train one-on-one with Chapel Hill legend Rancino Smith, and Mom didn't hesitate to sign me up. When I started rapping and making music, Mom came to every big show that I had. She brought my CDs, and she even bought a sweatshirt. Mom drove me to Wake Tech to check out their video game design program, even though nothing came from that visit. When I started getting interested in voice acting, Mom encouraged me to go give it a shot. When I wanted to write my story and draw it myself, Mom bought me a sketch pad and 150 colored pencils. And these are just a few examples of the things my mom did. Things weren't always the best. Just how life goes. I went through a rough patch as a teen, a little bit rougher than normal teenage days, but through the yelling, the leave me alone and don't touch me, Mom always made time to listen. She even made an AOL instant messenger screen just so we could talk, if I ever wanted to. How many parents do that? Sometimes she would just want to give me a hug, and I hated to touch being others for a while, and I would just say no. Mom remembered for years after that I didn't like being touched unannounced, and would always ask, "Can I give you a love pat?" I know now how much she just wanted to give me a hug and comfort me when I was feeling down. Lord knows what I would do for just one more love pat, one more hug from my mom. I was so caught up in my own stuff that I didn't take the time to look at what Mom was going through. Sometimes, moms need a hug from their son just as much as we need a hug from their dad. One time, Mom was on a cross-country road trip by herself here in Tulsa, from North Carolina. She called and told me the story of how she met a young woman with a baby who just looked like she needed help. Mom detoured her route to buy diapers, a bit of food, and a hotel for the weekend for this young woman. That's just the type of person that my mom was. One really good memory I have of Mom is that she played Street Fighter II with me at an arcade when I was just a kid. And she kicked my butt. She hit me with all the special moves while I struggled to figure out how to punch just one button. She made me rage quit in Street Fighter. And that memory to this day is one of the reasons that I still don't play Street Fighter. When we went to the National Video Game Museum in Texas, Mom beat me in a game called Bushido Blade. On both of these occasions, Mom claimed that she didn't know what she was doing, and in gamer terms was button mashing. Not quite sure I believe that, but okay. Sometimes Mom had a little bit of naivety when it came to a few things, we all know. But hey, no one knows everything. But also, Mom knew more than they gave her credit for, despite being her being the smartest person I knew. Mom knew that there are monsters and scary things out in the world, but she protected me from them and always made me feel safe. And she told me about those monsters and scary things when I was ready. And you know the thing about monsters is that when you turn on the lights, those monsters aren't so scary anymore. Mom provided that light. Mom and Dad helped me move to Texas. And living in Texas was hard for me. Mom and Dad came to see me in Texas in 2020 for my birthday, and we all got COVID. A part of me thinks that if they hadn't come to see me, that if they hadn't got COVID, that Mom would still be here today. But, as my cousin Jenny Byrne said, your parents made an adult decision on their own, and nothing could change their minds. I truly am grateful that Mom and Dad came, and for just that week, I felt okay that I had family, that I wasn't alone. We watched Cloud Atlas, Starlight, and a documentary about Quincy Jones, while just relaxing and enjoying being together again. And in 2021, when I decided to move back to North Carolina to help Mom, to help Dad take care of her, she rode across country with a brain tumor just to help her boy come home. When I first heard that Mom had a brain tumor, I knew what it meant. When I went to visit in April, I was just so relieved just to be home and spend time with Mom and Dad. When I moved back at the end of July, the night that I arrived home, there was a meal cooked and cookies fresh out of the oven waiting for me that Mom had cooked. And to be honest, the chicken wasn't cooked very well, and the cookies were still a little bit raw. But that was one of the best meals I've ever had. I cried while I was eating, just thinking, Mom has a brain tumor, but she still cooked a meal for me to come home to. I told Mom the next day, and she just smiled and said, you didn't know we were coming. It just happened to work that way. Well, much like the video game button mashing, I'm not sure I believe that. But even if it is the truth, I'm glad that it worked out that way. Thank you, Mom. This isn't about me, but I have to say, in 2011, I had an epiphany that led me to build a stronger relationship with both my parents. And I'm so glad that I was accepted today. In these last 10 years, my mom has been my best friend. At one point in time, I literally lost everything. All my money had gone to pay for repairs for a house that I rented with my roommates, former friends of mine, that got trashed, and so that we wouldn't face legal action. All my friendships were gone, save for a few online gaming buddies. I was sick with some sort of gastrointestinal issue, and literally couldn't move without being in pain. It was my lowest time, And I know that I would not be here if not for Mom and for my dad. Mom walked me home and allowed me the time I needed to get my mind right. She never once said, "Why don't you turn off the video game?" or "Go get a job," or anything else. Starting in 2011, we had daily conversations. I was letting Mom and Dad back for a while. And when I would visit, Mom would sit and listen to me talk about what I was going through, even if I ended up telling her the same thing over and over again for hours at a time, week after week after week. Mom became more than a mom, more than a friend. She became someone I felt safe talking to. In 2017, during another time of hardship, and I was having the darkest thoughts, Mom, better than any therapist, sat down and listened to me. She was patient. Her, along with Dad and Opie, helped me get back to a positive place and mindset. And I'm so glad that we got that time together because I know that some people never get that chance. Before I left for Texas, Mom reassured me. She said, "Tim, just go try it, man. You need to go. You'll never know what could happen if you don't go. And if you need to, you can come back here at any time. You will always have a home." That's really what made me choose to go. When I moved back to North Carolina to take care of Mom, I made it my mission to take care of her to the best of my ability. It never really hit me how sick Mom was until then. Because when I visited in April, or any time she had visitors, Mom pushed past the cursed brain tumor to the best of her ability. But I still knew that Mom was sick. But through all of it, Mom kept fighting. Much like the Amazons of legend, she was a warrior. I questioned myself if I was doing the right thing at times. And one time, Mom told me, "Tim, I am so glad that you're here. Because I don't know if I would have the strength to keep going if you weren't." I cried. I told my mom way back in April, shortly after her radiation treatments, "Mom, I love you. And I've always wanted you here. But please, if you ever get tired of this and you're ready to go, just say so. Just let us know. It's okay." On Thursday, December 2nd, after a long, almost sleepless night, I said to our at-home healthcare nurse, "If Mom is tired of this and is ready, all she has to do is say so." Mom was almost nonverbal at that time, but she looked at me and blinked a few times. In those blinks, I could tell she was saying, "I'm so tired of this. I'm ready." Later that night is when we decided to call hospice. The days since Mom had passed have been difficult. It all feels like a bad dream. I keep looking back and saying, why was I so stupid as a kid? Why did I say this thing? Or why did I act this way? Why did I do, or why did I do X, Y, Z, or whatever? Because with the good memories, there are some bad memories that I have. But believe it or not, I literally don't have a single bad memory of my mom. Just memories that I wish I had been better in those situations. But I know Mom understands and loves me still the same. And that Mom wouldn't want me to beat myself up, which I pray for that sometimes. In a strange way, Mom is still teaching me to this day. And for the longest time, probably since the first time I watched The Land Before Time, my biggest fear was losing my mom. But even after Mom passed, she is still teaching me. One lesson I learned recently is that the world hasn't ended and that life goes on. I can feel Mom's warmth in the sunshine. I can feel her gentleness in the breeze. And every once in a while, I swear I can feel her getting healed up that. So that's big. Shortly after Mom passed, my Aunt Mary said she had been thinking with me, WWLD. What would Lynn do instead of WWJD? Mom really is just that special, that she can set the precedent for love and kindness on a worldwide level for centuries, if not millennia. Forever is never enough. One more day, we could always ask for it. Our physical bodies are not immortal. I am honored to be on this planet at the same time as my mom meant to be her son. I'm even more honored that Esther Lynn Semones Davis is my mother, and that she called me son. When I started writing this, I said, how is it possible to sum all of this up? And thank you for listening. I do appreciate that. But honestly, I can sum my mom all the way down to one word. And that word is love. So, Mom, try to do this better than I did last round. I love you forever. I love you for always. Forever and always. My mom will be yours. I love you, Mom. Your son, Tim. I'll find you again in the next life. Thank you.
Today has been more than a blessing. It's more than a blessing. This was indeed a holy moment. Thank you for all that you've done to share the life of Lynn and your relationships and how touching. I'm glad we had a hymn after you spoke. It was last year's remembrance. It's to all of you. As you go from this place this day, know that God goes before you to lead you in the way. Know that God goes behind you to encourage you. Know that God goes above you to bless you. That God goes beneath you to support you. That God goes beside you to befriend you. God goes within you, within us all, to empower us to live our lives to the glory of God, a creator, redeemer, and sustainer now, forevermore. Amen. I'd like to ask at this time that you be seated, because before the post-food and processional, we are going to hear I'll Fly Away. Christian family wants to be here to hear. And then once joyful rejoicing begins, I will process the family out. They will take with them these symbols of Lynn for life, and they will head over to the Campbell Hotel across the side street there. I'll come back in and make an announcement about that once they are on their way. So.